Matthew Perry walked onto the Friends set every morning for 10 years. To the millions of viewers tuning in every Thursday night, he was Chandler Bing, the king of the one-liner, the master of sarcasm, and the lovable friend who always knew how to break the tension. But while the world was laughing, Matthew Perry was dying. Behind the iconic smile and the perfectly timed wit, he was high during every single episode. Season 3 was the absolute nadir of his existence. He was consuming 55 Vicodin pills a day, and his weight plummeted to a skeletal 128 pounds. There were mornings when his teeth literally fell out while he was eating toast, yet his commitment to the craft was so deep, or perhaps his fear of failure so profound, that he never missed a single day of filming. The cast remained largely in the dark about the severity of his condition until Jennifer Aniston walked backstage and said 5 words that changed everything. What she told him in that private moment would reverberate through the rest of his life. Matthew Langford Perry was born on August 19, 1969 in Williamstown, Massachusetts, but his life quickly became a whirlwind of movement and high-stakes pressure. His father, John Bennett Perry, was a working actor, and his mother, Suzanne Morrison, was a powerhouse in the world of Canadian politics. In 1966, she had been crowned Miss Canadian University Snow Queen, and by the time Matthew was born, she was serving as the press secretary to Prime Minister Pierre Trudeau. Consequently, while most infants were being lulled to sleep by lullabies, Matthew's early years were soundtracked by cabinet meetings, media scrums, and the high-octane energy of national headlines. The marriage between John and Suzanne succumbed to the pressure in 1970, before Matthew had even celebrated his first birthday. This split inaugurated a life defined by geographic distance and a lingering sense of displacement. By the age of 5, Matthew was already an unaccompanied minor, flying solo between his mother's structured life in Ottawa and his father's bohemian acting world in Los Angeles. This wasn't just a status on a flight manifest, it was a psychological reality. When Suzanne remarried journalist Keith Morrison in 1981 and his father remarried Debbie Boyle, the family expanded rapidly. Between 1981 and 1989, 5 half-siblings arrived. Matthew went from being the sole focus of his mother's world to being one face in a crowd of 6 children across 2 countries. He loved his siblings, but their arrival only served to deepen a pre-existing hole in his soul, a feeling that he was a guest in his own family. At the age of 10, the cracks in Matthew's armor began to show. While attending Rockcliffe Park Public School in Ottawa, he started stealing money from his mother's purse to buy cigarettes. His grades began a slow-motion collapse as his internal anger intensified. He became a bully, isolating himself and picking fights. In a bizarre twist of fate, he once beat up a classmate named Justin Trudeau, the son of his mother's boss. Matthew later admitted the fight was born of pure, unadulterated jealousy. Trudeau was better at sports, and Matthew couldn't handle the competition. However, Matthew found one outlet for his restless energy: tennis. He took up the sport at age 4, and by 13 he was the number 2 ranked player in Ottawa. He was a machine, hitting the court for 10 hours a day. He eventually reached a national ranking of number 17 in junior singles, but a move to Los Angeles at age 15 changed everything. In a high-stakes match in the California sun, Matthew got crushed. He saw the disappointment on his family's faces, and in that moment, the dream of being a professional athlete died. He pivoted to his father's world. Living full-time with John Bennett Perry, then famous for his Old Spice commercials, Matthew enrolled at the Buckley School in Sherman Oaks. He discovered that the same quick wit he used to soothe his overwhelmed mother could be used to command an audience. He joined an improv group called LA Connection and stood out immediately for his sarcasm and timing. But the stage wasn't the only thing he discovered. At 14, he had his first drink of Budweiser and Baby Duck wine. By 18, he was drinking every day. It wasn't about the party, it was about silencing the static in his head. By 1994, Matthew Perry was 24 and nearly broke. His manager told him he had no money left, and his only prospect was a bizarre sci-fi pilot about baggage handlers in the year 2194. When the script for a show titled Friends Like Us landed on his desk, Matthew felt an immediate, visceral connection. He didn't just want the role of Chandler Bing, he felt he was Chandler Bing. The casting process was grueling, but Perry was the final piece of the puzzle. When the show premiered on September 22, 1994, it became a cultural juggernaut. The 6 actors, Perry, Aniston, Schwimmer, Kudrow, Cox, and LeBlanc, became the most famous people on the planet. By the peak of the show's success, they were earning $1 million per episode, thanks to a pact led by David Schwimmer to negotiate as a single unit. But for Matthew, the success was a gilded cage. In 1997, a jet ski accident led to a prescription for Vicodin. That one pill unlocked a door that Matthew could never truly close again. Within months, he was taking 20 to 30 pills a day, washing them down with a quart of vodka. By season 3, his addiction was so severe that his weight dropped to 128 pounds. He was faking injuries to get prescriptions and even stealing pills from medicine cabinets during open house tours in Los Angeles. The cast eventually intervened. Jennifer Aniston, whom Matthew had once harbored a crush on, pulled him aside and told him, "We can smell it." It wasn't a joke, it was a plea for his life. Despite 15 stints in rehab and spending over $9 million on his quest for sobriety, the big terrible thing, as he called his addiction, remained a constant shadow. In 2018, the decades of abuse finally caught up with him. Matthew's colon exploded from opioid use. He spent 2 weeks in a coma and 5 months in the hospital, surviving on an ECMO machine with a 2% chance of life. He emerged with a colostomy bag and a renewed sense of purpose. He wrote his memoir, Friends, Lovers, and the Big Terrible Thing, which became a #1 bestseller and a raw, honest look at the cost of fame. He died on October 28, 2023, in his hot tub at his home in Pacific Palisades. While the initial reports suggested drowning, the autopsy revealed a more sinister truth: acute effects of ketamine. In August 2024, a criminal investigation led to charges against 5 individuals, including his live-in assistant and 2 doctors who had exploited his addiction for profit. Matthew Perry wanted to be remembered for more than just a sitcom. He wanted to be remembered as someone who helped people stay sober. In the wake of his death, the Matthew Perry Foundation was established to carry on that mission. He may have played the funny one, but his true legacy is the brutal, honest truth he left behind for those still fighting the same war.